words. You can just buy a piece of my brain for $20 and have it forever. And the concept of that has been freaking me out a little bit. Because, every performance is like different. And I feel like I'm a little bit more in control of how that's perceived. But then you got the book and it's just out there now. And I'm trying to be okay with that. So I'm going to read you some poems from the book and then maybe read some new shit, if that's okay. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. All right. I'm going to read this one first. This poem is called Half Past King Philip. I never expect to find us in the bookstore. I try anyway. I check for us in the nonfiction because I know our history is real. I think I might find my people in the poetry section because it's poetic how a populace can go on living through every new oppressive presidency. I run my fingers across every shelf. I linger on every Spanish author. Hernandez, Estrada, Ocampo, as if I'll know which book carries centuries of colonization on its spine just by looking. I forget how our names hide behind other ethnicities, how so often my people are mistaken for what they are not. You only have to hear our names to know. De los Santos, de la Cruz, del Rosario, as if Catholic syllables could bring us closer to God, as if breathing faith into our family names might bring our families praise, as if keeping our heads down in prayer could keep us safe, as if kneeling at the feet of a foreign king could save us. Maybe that's why we're always forgetting how brown we are, how brown we've always been, till they came to water down our family trees. If you shake the branches hard enough, a conquistador might fall out. At the reunion, your tita boasts about how much Spanish blood runs in our veins, as if their blood is what ripens our roots as they grow. We all want Sampaguita's skin for a reason. We use their words to describe how close we are to their image, in order of preference: mestiza, morena, negrita. There is one lonely section for the books of color: African American Studies, Latin American Studies, Asian American Studies. They grouped us together so it's easier to keep track of us, just like naming us made it easier to keep track of us. Gutierrez, Aquino, Guevara. It's been centuries since they left our shores, but we still measure our days in their language. Anong oras na? Well, it's 1/2 King Philip, a las 7:30 time for evening mass. How can colonization leave you? Lopez, Mendoza, de Guzman, when its hands built your houses of worship, when its tongue defines your time. Flores, Rivera, Castillo, when it named you. Sanchez, Garcia, Reyes, when it named you. Philippines. Bring this up a little bit. Right there. Okay. How we doing? How we feeling? Listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give a blanket content warning for my set. There's a lot in this book about grief, about loss, about anti-imperialism. Anything that is dealing with the history of my people, I'm Filipino, is going to bring up a bunch of, ugly themes, but also a bunch of joy, hope, imagination, like that. I'm going to read this poem about being queer. Shout out to anyone in the building who is also queer. This one's for us. If I can fucking find my own poem in my own book. For real, okay. Thank you for bearing with me, y'all. You know what? There's a table of contents. I can literally look there and it will tell me where to find this poem. Okay. Here we go. This poem is called She, They. Fed up she, her to enrage she, they pipeline. Because it's inevitable. Because it's a meme. Which is to say that this whole poem is a morsel of something so much bigger than itself, it can't be digested without sacrifice. Which is to say, take a shot every time a poet says, which is to say, in a poem, and pour one out for every loved one you now talk about in the past tense. She, they, because grief gives shape to my body like nothing else, solders me into a recognizable outline for all my hollow, all my they, she, and her, them, all my unfinished, which is to say that poets are so good at transfiguration That a poem that begins with an internet joke turns into something else entirely, like the girl that lives in my clenched jaw and the grooves in my palms is spiraling beyond comprehension. Because it's inescapable, because it's a one-liner. My pronouns are constantly repressing rage, she, her, clinging to sharp edges. My pronouns are irreparably expansive, they, holding hands in the botanic gardens, they, running towards the lake in winter so she'll feel the clarity of aliveness in her lungs, they, crying on the red line swaddled in her warmest coat. She here against all burdens, they when all the skin is shed, which is to say this is an offering to a future me. I'm no longer waiting for permission. Yeah, you can clap. You know, poets, you can clap after every poem we do. Like, I would love that. That would be cute, you know? I'm gonna read, this is the first poem in the book. And yeah, you know, I know a lot of people in this room are educators in some shape or form. This poem is for my students. It's called, My Student Asks Me What She Should Bring to the Protest. Tells me she has cash, you know, in case. And should she bring her phone? She's read the infographics too. And here we are, mouthing off on our smartphones about surveillance. I rattle off the list from memory. Wear black. Comfortable shoes in case we have to run. Layers for weather. Water bottle in case she gets thirsty. Pepper sprayed. Phone. Charging bank, a sign. Should I tell her? Goggles, helmet, umbrella. She says, I know someone who looks like Adam. I ask the questions I'm supposed to about parents and friends and rides to and from. I tell her our safety plan, the meeting point, the friends who will be with us, how long we will stay, what we mean when we say escalate, what we plan to do if it escalates, how we make it home when it escalates. I say, we keep us safe. But what's safe when the pigs have their gun on you? I say, I used to teach kids who looked like Adam. So a couple years ago, some of you, I hope you remember, Adam Toledo's life was senselessly, violently taken by the Chicago Police Department. He was 13 years old. They say that he had a gun on him. I think that's a goddamn lie. And this poem is based on truth. I did have a student who we were gonna go to a protest in 2021 for Adam's memory. And I was like, okay, you know, what's my responsibility to this kid who looks up to me, who I have a lot of influence over? And I was like, it's her agency and choice. She should be allowed to show up for this young boy that she relates to. And then I was like, well, all I can do as someone in her life is take care of her, help to keep her safe, you know, within reason as much as I can. So we had a whole, you know, really honest conversation where I was like, you know, I hope nothing pops off at this thing, but you never know with CPD, you never know in Chicago. So I was like, here's what I need you to bring, and here's what we're gonna do if it gets to that point. Yeah. Ooh, read. Man, you ever write a poem or like, you know, some bars, and afterwards you're like really proud, but you're like, damn, I just hurt myself? Elgin's smiling, he's like, yeah. Anyway, so I wrote this poem, and afterwards I had to like sit on my couch for a second and just be like, wow, okay, I really did that, huh? So this poem is called Reading Audre Lorde in the Kitchen 3 days before you decided to leave me. It's been a week and I still love you. The love bites you left on my right breast still there, yellowing softly like a handful of leaves in decay. I feel my outline slowly dissipating without your mouth to steady it. I knew better where I was going when you held my hands behind my back, kept me helpless, focused, slipped out of my feminist finery and into role play. I sizzle aromatics in the kitchen. Your spice rack wheezes at me. I've accepted that sons rarely learn to cook in your culture. You read to me about how to raise a man. You were so pleased to tell me what you've learned. I have already raised so many boys, but in our domestic scene, I am a patient woman, a straight woman. Military boys break so easily from the blunt force of their fathers. Men who are afraid to feel must keep women around to do their feeling for them. You don't want to be like him, but where did you learn to treat me like this? dismissing us for the same supposedly inferior capacity to feel deeply. My empty womb clenches around your words. I am thankful for the distraction of the stove. It is just biology at work, but I run full tilt into the fantasy. Cast you as the father, your son on my hip, with my eyes and your cowlick. In your grin, I see the dream. Arch me over this counter. Make a mother out of me. Anyway, that dude's not in my life anymore. Fuck him. Okay. So, y'all remember the summer of 2020? Oh, I got my, yeah. There was a lot going on, and I was having like a lot of trouble writing about what was going on. Like me and all my other writer friends, we were like, we're in Chicago, we're in the streets, we're like, we can't, like, there's nothing, we can't like accurately describe what the fuck going on right now. And so I tried to write a poem about like what I want it to look like in the future. Or like, you know, the reason that we are in the street or in the homes or in the public places, you know, educating people, organizing, whatever, doing community work, is so that we can build something that's better, right? So I wrote this poem. It's called 2032. All my friends can't hang anymore, can't keep their eyes open past 10 p.m. We wake up in time to catch the tail end of the sunrise. We are all morning people now. We stopped sleeping with one eye open. Of course, the kids don't even say hang anymore. They have new incantations to enchant their joy. Their lexicon is a set of unknown spells, and it's so magical to be outdated and alive. All my friends write sweet poems now, lollipop stanzas. They pull sugar through all the syllables, a rush of gratitude in their smiles. How lucky we are, with our front yards and our gardens teeming with children and summer fruits. How opulent to know peace and to never have to ask if everyone made it home safe. Read. Kind of in that same vein of like, what is the kind of world that we want to live in? In 2021, some of you may know, some of you may not. It's okay if you don't. There was a mass shooting in Atlanta that targeted specifically like Asian female spa workers. And it really, really struck a chord in my community because, you know, something I wish we talked about more in Asian diaspora communities is like class struggle, right? There is a perception, I think, that has truth in it for sure, that Asian people, particularly East Asian people, are like well off and they're good and they're fine. And there's definitely a big swath of people who, they're white collar, they're professionals, they're good. But there is a really invisibilized portion of our community that is working in under the table jobs, you know, juggling 5 jobs at once. Like y'all know what that can be like. And it really forced a lot of important conversations that were really long overdue in my community, that shooting. I wrote this for a community vigil that we had to honor the victims. This is called an affirmation. For the Asian women in my life, may we one day be free. We look up at the sky and see blue, uninterrupted, and no one tells us we need to step out of the sun. Our skin, a cloudless glow, we stretch into our bodies, our wrinkled, our dimpled, our angled, our soft bodies, our interlaced hands, all of us expanding, unbordered. We nourish ourselves with gusto, we guffaw, we gossip over the steady thud of mortar and pestle, grinding secret out of spice. Our information trade keeps the community safe. We stay safe, we smile for ourselves, a constellation of faces that can't be lost in shame or shadowed in expectations. Our hurricane spirits tear down pedestals and build altars to ourselves. We hallow our own bones and together break curse upon curse upon curse. We begin anew. We belong here and everywhere. We plant our roots in a sky that we don't have to hold up. We are all free. We are all, we are alive, alive. Can I read some new shit? Can I read some new shit for y'all? Fresh produce. Okay, wait, where is my new shit? Here it is. So, like many Filipino people, I was raised Catholic, and then I left my parents' home and I kind of left the church at the same time. Like, I have a really complicated relationship with church, religion, organized religion, and all that. But I've been finding a lot of spirituality as I get on in life. And this poem's kind of about that, and it's new. I haven't performed this very much in front of people. It's called Devotional for Myself. There is a God and she is me. Many-tongued pipe organ in the forest, ridged wave of desire, leafed in futurescapes. There is a God and she is a landscape. I am a God and God is in this holy queerness and I give thanks to. There is a path in the wood, a deep well in the throat. God is a ripple, I conjure God in a tide. I invoke God in the ocean foam. There is a God and she is me. There are divines in the soil and my feet remember. God in the prairie and prayer. There is a pool in my memory place. There is a God and she is here and I am in every lifetime that I have been God woven in. God weaves me into the loop in her fingers. God brings me to my knees. God is my God, is your God, and we, God-like in the greatest unknown orchestra of our shared resonance, is God, is you, is I. God is here. God is here. God is where I let me be. Okay. This is my last poem for you tonight. This is called Notes on Masculinity. And this is only the third time I've read it out loud. Maybe this is gonna grow into a second book, who knows? The boys grow their hair long and help me pull it back from their temples. Help me hold it in place to weave thick braids. Tendrils coil around my palms, their shoulders. The boys close their eyes and let themselves be still. I find a way to love them without becoming a mother. Without the promise of wedlock, the boys love me gently and I say it back. I cup their chins in my hands and turn their faces down to look at me. They meet my eyes without violence. I find a way to love the boys and the worst of manhood doesn't clot around my spirit. The boys ask for color on their eyelids. They want stardust cheekbones and midnight nails. The boys have never seen themselves before now. I kiss their foreheads and don't wait for any more daggers. The boys see my body and I don't burn. I hold hands with girls and the boys don't burn me. I rest my head in their laps and there is no terror. I fall asleep with the boys and I'm still alive in the morning. They want to keep me safe and I believe it. We show each other what we love and there is no shame. And that's my set. Thank you all so much. So I've known Elgin since I was like doing slam and all of that, so we go way back. I'm really, really happy to have finally made it to Stomping Grounds, because every time Stomping Grounds is happening, I have some other shit that I have to do. One of those other things that I generally have to do is this thing called Luya, that's L-U-Y-A. So I also run an open mic. We are once a month. Our date changes every month, but we found a new home finally. We've been running for like 5 years now. So our next open mic is September 29th at the Chicago Athletic Association. That is a Friday night. Doors open at 7, show is at 7:30. There was some mad talent in here tonight. I would love to see you at Luya. Would welcome you all there. And yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm always doing things. I'm doing too much, honestly, around the city. So yeah, if there's a show or whatever, it's gonna be on my Instagram. Thank you all so much.
Y'all make some more noise for Chris. Man, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.